Well, so when do you think would be the right time to tell a child that they were adopted?
Well, I happen to be adopted also, and I was adopted into my family when I was 6 weeks old, and I grew up knowing I was adopted. I grew up thinking adoption was a great thing, and my brother was also adopted, and so I would say with all of our kids, we told them everyone knows they're adopted, and they always will. I cannot imagine having that be a secret. A secret, in my opinion, is something that typically you're hiding for a reason. And why would you hide that? So my answer to families is you should have told them yesterday. And waiting until they're 11 or 12 or 16 or 18 is going to make it shameful and make them wonder, why didn't they tell me before? What's so bad about this? And to be honest, they might have an idea anyway. Sometimes it's a little obvious. So right off the bat, tell a child, celebrate adoption. November is adoption month. Celebrate it. Have it be a part of your family, and have it be a wonderful thing instead of a secret.
And what what could social workers have done or said to make the adoption transition easier, or other adoptive parents?
Yeah. Um, in every line of work, there's people that are really great at their job and people that aren't so great at their job. I think I had 99.9% really great social workers, and it's all about those relationships. And I think you have to speak up as an adoptive parent with your needs. What I did find in the process, some of the meetings we would go to for concurrent planning or the PPP, the parallel protection something protection
Process. Parallel protection process.
Parallel protection process. Thank you. You go into a very large room with a very large table with a lot of people, a lot of attorneys, and a lot of the birth parents. And the first time I went to one of those meetings, I walked in and I was a little late. Anyways, I took the last chair there, and there was nobody there representing me. No, the meeting wasn't about me, but I felt very alone, in the process, and it was very hard to hear about all of the previous abuse and neglect that my child had, because that was my kid. It was very personal, and it was terrible. So I called later and I said, I need you to know how I felt about this. So don't be shy about it. Um, don't be obnoxious about it. But know that if you are doing this, I could have had my foster care license with me, my foster care worker, anybody just to come with me. If nothing else, to describe half of the acronyms they were using, I was like 3 pages behind trying to figure out all these letters meant. And then they asked me to speak, and it was a little intimidating. I've been to others since, and they have now started meeting with the families beforehand, telling them what the process is going to be like, and that made a huge difference because it can be very heated, it can be very personal, and you're learning a lot about the behavior of family that you didn't intend to get in and a part of. So any education that we can get ahead of time is great. And if something doesn't feel right, follow your gut and ask more questions and follow up. Um, don't be afraid to call another adoptive parent and say, the social worker, one example, the birth family wanted to come out to our home and see our home. And, I knew that the family had, one of the parents had some robbery charges and different things in the past. And so, that might be something where you say, let's talk about this later. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable and work through it. So just keep bugging them and asking questions. And if you're doing the right thing for the kid and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, they're going to support you and back you up as best as they can. And if not, go to a supervisor. It's okay to do that because maybe it is a process that you can be a part of. So I've become a lot more. I was much more shy a while ago, but if it's for the best thing for the child, then it's worth it.
Sounds like you have a lot of experience with adoption, and this is kind of your chance to talk to a group of social workers, and likely a lot of us will never be in your shoes and never adopt a child. So tell us what it is like to be in your shoes, and what would be important for social workers to know about what it's like to be in your shoes.
thrilled that there's that you're asking me these questions. I think it's wonderful. Anytime that I can, kind of find a social worker and talk to them about adoption and how great it is and what they can do, I'm all for it. I think just the support is really important. With our first daughter, we had an evening that she broke a door. Wallpaper came off, and my husband was at the point of he was done, and so we did call our social worker at 10 o'clock at night, and you know what, no problem, and we got it, we got a plan, and it worked out wonderfully. Now we've never done that since, never will again, but it was pretty intense. So I think making sure that we're not crazy, believing us when we say the child is raging. True reactive attachment disorder is not going to happen while the social worker's in the home. It's not going to happen while they're in school. It's going to happen as soon as everyone's done and the door shuts. And it's usually targeted at mom, sometimes dad. And so any kind of support groups or anything that you can help us with, match us up with other adoptive moms and dad, mentors, anything like that, I think is really helpful. Gosh.
That kind of leads us into our next question. Did you or your family receive any post-adoptive services?
We did receive post-adoptive services. I've done work kind of in the southeast region the past couple of years, and that answer really depends on where you live. It depends on what county. I have had people call me and say, I need help, and I say, well, you know what, maybe try your child social worker, and maybe they can give you some insight on where to go. And I've had people that were told, the case is over, I can't help you anymore, and the phone hung up. So that's not uncommon. In my experience, I've gotten the opposite. I may have gotten an email from where you're saying, oh, just thinking of you, hoping things are going well, and you can need from me, which is wonderful. That obviously is also a philosophy of the county, and all the rest. So there's more to it than that. But I started getting involved in a support group right at the point when Christina got placed with us, and that's been extremely helpful. I know of parents who absolutely positively would have their adoption wouldn't have made it. They would have dissolved had they not had that support group without a doubt. Just to kind of have that other parent to say it's okay. The behaviors aren't like, to look okay. It's because your coworkers, your friends are going to say, oh, they're so cute and charming, which they are. I don't see what your problem is. So I think that's super, super, super important. And just to have that open-ended, if you need something, give me a call. My oldest now is going to be 18 soon. That's one thing I didn't know. Going back to question 1 and 2. Gosh, when kids are 18, you typically they go to college and then they move out. Well, not my kids. Now we're looking at guardianship and looking at what to do with her. Is there some post-secondary services that she can go to since she probably will go to college? Because some brain damage and things like that. And so the social worker was able to help me with that, as well as other adopted families, and that's been extremely helpful.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for today, Melissa. Thank you for